the foggy evening of December 20th, 1968, a teenage couple parked at Lake Herman Road in Vallejo, California, had no idea they were about to become the first confirmed victims of one of America's most notorious serial killers. A man who would taunt police and media for decades with cryptic letters, mysterious ciphers, and a chilling symbol that would forever be associated with terror in the San Francisco Bay Area. David Arthur Faraday, 17, and Betty Lou Jensen, 16, were shot and killed in what initially appeared to be a random act of violence. But 6 months later, on July 4th, 1969, when Darlene Ferrin, 22, and Mike Mageau, 19, were attacked at Blue Rock Springs Park in Vallejo, the killer made his first phone call to police, claiming responsibility for both attacks and forever changing the trajectory of one of America's most infamous unsolved cases. Mike Mageau survived the attack and provided crucial details about the assailant, describing a stocky man who approached their car with a flashlight before opening fire. But it was the phone call that followed that truly marked the beginning of the Zodiac's reign of terror, as the killer spoke in a calm, deliberate voice, telling the dispatcher, "I want to report a murder," before detailing the locations of both crime scenes with chilling accuracy. The investigation intensified dramatically when newspapers across the Bay Area received identical letters on August 1st, 1969, each containing a portion of a 408-character cipher that the killer claimed contained his identity, demanding that the letters be published on the front pages or he would go on a killing spree, signing each letter with the now iconic symbol of a circle with a cross through it, the symbol that would give him his name. The cipher was cracked by a local school teacher couple, Donald and Betty Harden, revealing the disturbing message that began with, "I like killing people because it is so much fun," establishing the Zodiac as not just a killer, but a calculating psychopath who reveled in media attention and public fear. The case took another horrific turn on September 27, 1969, when Brian Hartnell, 20, and Cecelia Shepard, 22, were attacked at Lake Berryessa by a hooded figure wearing the Zodiac symbol, with Hartnell surviving to describe the killer's methodical approach, the strange costume, and the way he seemed to enjoy the psychological torture before the physical violence. 2 weeks later, on October 11, 1969, taxi driver Paul Stine, 29, was murdered in San Francisco's Presidio Heights neighborhood, with the killer taking a piece of Stine's shirt as a trophy and later mailing it to the San Francisco Chronicle, along with a letter mocking the police investigation and threatening to target school children. The investigation became a multi-jurisdictional effort involving the San Francisco Police Department, Vallejo Police, Napa County Sheriff's Office, and eventually the FBI, with Detective Dave Toschi of SFPD becoming the public face of the investigation, dedicating years of his life to catching the elusive killer, while fielding hundreds of tips and following countless leads. The media coverage was unprecedented, with the Zodiac's letters being published in newspapers across the country, his ciphers capturing public imagination, and his threats generating widespread fear throughout Northern California, as parents kept children indoors, and the killer seemed to delight in the chaos he had created. Arthur Leigh Allen, a former elementary school teacher from Vallejo, emerged as the primary suspect in the 1970s when investigators discovered his connection to the case through circumstantial evidence, including his proximity to the crime scenes, his interest in cryptography, and witness descriptions that seemed to match his appearance, though concrete proof remained elusive despite decades of investigation. The case spawned numerous books, films, and documentaries, with Robert Graysmith's 1986 book Zodiac bringing renewed attention to the investigation and inspiring David Fincher's acclaimed 2007 film that captured the obsessive nature of the hunt for the killer and the psychological toll it took on those involved. Other suspects emerged over the years, including Richard Gaikowski, a journalist who some believed had insider knowledge of the investigation, and Lawrence Kane, a former Navy veteran whose physical description matched witness accounts. But like Allen, none could be definitively linked to the crimes through conclusive evidence. The Zodiac sent his last confirmed letter in 1974, though investigators continued to receive potential communications for years afterward, many of which were determined to be hoaxes or copycat attempts, leaving the case in a state of perpetual mystery that continues to fascinate amateur sleuths and professional investigators alike. Modern DNA technology has brought new hope to the investigation, with the FBI and local law enforcement agencies working to extract genetic material from evidence collected at the crime scenes, though the age and condition of the evidence has presented significant challenges. In 2002, the San Francisco Police Department announced that DNA analysis had excluded Arthur Leigh Allen as a suspect, though some investigators argue that the evidence may have been contaminated or that Allen could have been involved without leaving his DNA at the scenes. The case received renewed attention in 2020 when a group of independent investigators claimed to have identified Gary Francis Post as the Zodiac Killer, though law enforcement has not officially confirmed this identification and the case remains open. The Zodiac Killer's impact on American culture extends far beyond the 5 confirmed murders and 2 attempted murders, as his methods of communication, his use of media manipulation, and his ability to evade capture for decades have influenced countless other cases and changed the way law enforcement approaches serial killer investigations. The families of David Faraday, Lou Jensen, Darlene Ferrin, Cecelia Shepard, and Paul Stine continue to seek closure, their loved ones remembered not just as victims of a notorious killer, but as individuals whose lives were cut short by senseless violence. And while the Zodiac's identity may never be definitively established, the dedication of investigators and the advancement of forensic science keep hope alive that one day justice will finally be served for these innocent victims and the families who have waited more than 50 years for answers.